We should be pros at this by now.
We should be pros at this by
Be
now.
able to formulate our arguments amazingly. With a cork in our mouth, no less.
Yes, without fork in our mouth.
With
no
not
less.
one, but two.
Well, I can't do that. My right is not big enough.
Oh,
yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
look like a bulldog.
Right?
What?
Meat's
now.
back on the menu, boys. Sorry, Jordan.
Jeez.
That's an urukai, not an orc, you uncultured
No, that was actually
swine. No, it isn't.
Yeah.
We are
No, it
WeMovies.
isn't. It's urukai. It's the
Okay,
it's the main urukai.
It's an urukai who says it, but he's saying it to an orc. Anyway.
Yes, exactly.
We waste too much time talking about shit that doesn't matter.
Welcome to WeMovies. That's Caleb. This is Scotty. I'm Jordan, and today
Hello.
we are reviewing Roma. This is a
Yes.
short clip of our review. If you want to listen to the full-length 1-hour version, there is a link down below to our Spotify. Please go there if you want to bore yourself to death.
No, it's actually fantastic.
It is fantastic. We get into a lot of
It is
detail
great.
there.
It's
It is
more-
an amazing movie.
It's more entertaining than the movie. No, I take that back. the movie is amazing.
The movie is amazing.
In a lot of different ways.
So let's start off. Scotty, take us away.
So, Roma is directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who once again writes his movie, but he's also doing the cinematography for the first time.
And he's also an editor in this as well. He
Now,
edited
the
it.
movies he's done before, Harry Potter.
Harry
and the
Potter
Prisoner of Azkaban.
and The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Probably
yes.
the best one.
Probably.
Out of all of them.
I recently rewatched all of them, and I have to say that is the
Yeah.
one I've found the best out of all of them.
cool.
He also did Gravity.
Gravity, Children of Men.
Children of Men's fantastic.
I love his work.
It's great.
I love his work.
He did Birdman, did he not?
No,
no,
that's
no, no.
that's Iñárritu.
In your
of course,
yeah.
of course.
The other Mexican
I'm
director.
fantastic
The other
at this job. Yeah.
We're not
he's-
racist, we swear.
He's great. He's an amazing filmmaker. I think he's all on our list. Anytime he makes something, we've all
Yeah.
got it there to watch it. Roma. How do we describe Roma?
I think you said it really fantastically in
I did, didn't I? I really did.
You can't remember
realistic
it, can you?
slice of life.
Hyper-realistic slice of life.
That's what I wrote, yeah. Thanks, Scotty.
A window into a Mexican family
In the 1970s.
in the
Yeah.
1970s.
A story about a girl called Cleo.
Yeah. As
Cleo.
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 Yes.
Yes.
Cleo.
Cleo. A story about a girl called Cleo. She's a housemaid.
Housemaid.
Living with a family.
Yes.
And things happen. Life happens.
Life happens.
Yeah.
This just before we get into any more detail, this film just felt real to me on across all levels, like from the technical perspective of the cinematography and the sound to the acting to the performances to the direction. It just felt like it was a real, like I was there watching these real events unfold around me.
Yeah. Most movies go to the extra length to make you forget about reality and join a fantasy, whereas this movie does the opposite.
It accepts you into it.
Yeah, exactly. It really contrasts
Yeah.
everything. It highlights the reality of the situations.
Alfonso Cuarón does that beautifully, and the fact that he's in the cinematography seat for once, I think this is the first time he's doing it.
on one of these big projects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just highlights these moments.
Cinematography, directing, wrote the script.
It's-
It's based on a personal story of his
Yes.
life.
And with all of these
very close to
in
it.
context of making this film, it's actually incredible how cohesive this movie is.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I think it would be so easy with just, almost a single voice and a single vision behind this movie to just become all about him and about, oh, I'm an amazing movie maker, I'm this, I'm that. But it wasn't about that at all. It was literally just all about this character of Cleo and what she goes through in this film.
This movie's so simple and slice of life that it does bend the question of, is it art versus entertainment, which you brought up in the podcast and we talked a lot about. But for me, this movie is special because it follows a character and her own struggles in this environment.
One of the things that I really appreciate about this film is the whole slice of life aspect. I
Yes,
feel
the
like
slice of life aspect.
the thing that Caleb
TM.
said, the thing that Caleb came up with.
Yes, me.
The whole thing about slice of life is, for me, I believe that it's so hard to replicate. It's so hard as a director, as an artist, to be able to boil everything down to something that feels real. Because it's so easy. I feel like if I'm writing a script for a short film, it's so easy for me to go over the top. It's so easy for me to just pull something crazy and wacky off the top of my head. But it's so hard to distill that down into reality. and to be believable. And I feel like he does this perfectly. It just feels like you're there.
I mean, look at any hilariously bad movie with dialogue attempting to be real.
Yeah.
In real life, like a M. Night Shyamalan movie. No, he pulls it off so well. It's just, you just feel like you're watching, the monitor is a window into seeing a life that's transpiring.
It's like you're watching a webcam before webcams existed of 1970 life in Mexico, and you're just.
I feel like
lots of panning shots.
I feel like I was just invited in. It just felt like it drew me in and
that's
allowed
the beauty
me
of
to
the
be there.
cinematography. It draws you into the movie.
And so simple as well, through like just minimalist camera movements, and like we talked on the podcast the influences of like Wes Anderson. There's a couple of scenes where we're traveling down the side of the road following a character, but in the case of Wes Anderson, it's very theatrical, very this is my style kind of thing. But in this instance in Roma, it feels like you are there running down the side of the street watching this character beside you.
You say it. It's simple. It's not simple. These are wonderfully constructed scenes,
this
and
is
they're
the beauty.
It
I think
makes it
this is
seem
the
effortless.
Yeah, exactly.
He makes it seem effortless.
You're watching a
but when you
master
think
work.
about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's incredible the amount of people he had to choreograph, the extras, everyone who was given it 100.
I swear there would have been a couple of hundred extras in each of the scenes that required that many people in the scene, and it just to be able to choreograph them so that they felt real and unstaged is insane.
Now, this movie lives and dies by your ability to connect with the family and the main character, Cleo.
Yep.
Which it shouldn't be hard, but the movie is a very slow burn.
It is.
Yes.
It's slow
especially
to
in the
start.
first act.
Yeah.
Especially in the first, like for me, when I started watching it, I watched it and I was like, it got to a point where I was like, when's it going to speed up, or when's something going to happen? And then as soon as something did happen, as soon as the high stakes came out, as soon as everything started to hit the fan, all of the things that seemingly slowed down the film at first actually came back as the high stakes things that were pushing this movie towards its climax and towards its finish.
We've only seen this movie once, and I think we all want to see it again. Well, maybe Caleb doesn't, but
Absolutely. In the podcast, we were discussing things that that I had missed and things that I want to see again. And again, I want to say it's such an interesting movie to see. And like you said before, entertainment versus art. It's you said it rides that line.
Yep.
And I agree. If you don't like movies where you have to stop and think about it, and you have to have the attention span to take everything in, then you're not going to enjoy the movie as much.
I don't know if that's true. That's the thing, because it's not metaphorical. It's a story about a girl, and if you follow this story about this girl, the plot points aren't that complicated.
Oh yeah.
It's not like a high stake thriller.
But that's a good thing.
That's what
about,
I mean.
That's
Some people it may
about.
just be too slow and not enough there.
Yeah.
Some people may be looking
But the thing
for
is,
things
on the
that aren't
second
there.
viewing, I think those moments will become the moments we enjoy the most, where we're just sitting there watching this character.
Because there's the beautiful thing about this movie is whenever those high stakes scenes happen, there is a moment of breathing room that the film allows, not just for us, the audience, but also for the characters to take on what's happened. Like there's a scene where a huge thing happens for Cleo. This is a spoiler-free review segment, but a huge thing happens for Cleo. And then for about 15 minutes of the film afterwards, it's her digesting such a huge thing that has happened to her. And also us, the audience, like digesting exactly what that is. And it allows for those times where, I think breathing is important for both the audience and the characters.
I think also because it's a very personal movie with this central character, the events that are happening around Mexico, which are based on real events like the Corpus Christi massacre, where 120 people died, they happen, but it's not about them. It's about how the character deals with the situation that they're in at that particular time. There's an earthquake that happens, which is a real earthquake. And you see what happens to her when the earthquake happens is something that would be very different for anyone else, and it's a unique experience that you see through this character's eyes, which creates this very special moment.
Everything is presented fairly matter of fact.
Yeah.
A film should stand on its own, and it's not necessary to know the exact political
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
things
why
that were going on in Mexico in 1970.
And for me personally, I didn't know about the Corpus Christi massacre or the earthquake because
Question.
and it didn't.
I didn't either until I looked
didn't-
up afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't need that information to understand what was going
exactly.
because that wasn't the focus. Again, it wasn't using these events to prop up the story. It was just these characters reacted in a realistic way to these events.
It was part of the world they were in. It was not part of the plot or the story of the main character.
Which I feel like a lot of other maybe lesser skilled filmmakers might have. Like, as someone who has made short films and wants to continue making short films, I saw myself going, wow, I would have really stuffed this up. Like, I would have made some of the worst decisions for this film.
The Forrest Gump.
Like,
I was there for this event.
I would have focused like on the earthquake. I would have focused on the massacre way too much. I would have made some terrible decisions as a filmmaker.
Wes Anderson narrator staring at the camera saying, this event happened at this date.
Well, we were talking about the similarities between this and Wes Anderson. It's almost like the opposite. They use the same techniques for almost opposite effect. With Wes Anderson, it's a quirk. Whereas this, it's done naturally and helps you see more of the world that the character is in.
Not that we're hating on Wes Anderson.
No, we love Wes Anderson.
I love his work.
It's just funny seeing the similarities and yet the
different.
The reason behind those choices are completely different. Yeah,
it's a great movie.
It does have, we should point out, it is in black and white, and it does have subtitles, and yet somehow those things just fade into the background.
Well, I'd like to, I'm not one for subtitles. I've generally kind of stayed away from films that don't have a dub. But with this movie, I got lost in it. I stopped noticing the subtitles, stopped noticing all of that kind of stuff, and
You're just the window again. We're looking through a window, and it just draws you in, and it makes you feel at home. You feel like you're part of this family that you're getting to watch.
Yeah.
Also, the kids are great. The kids act like real kids, and that adds another level of humanity to it.
It doesn't feel like an adult writing dialogue for how he thinks a kid should speak.
Yeah.
It feels very natural.
Even some of the more adult scenes seem to be seen through the eyes of almost like a childlike innocence, which is also I find like a great touch, because he is writing from the experiences that he experienced when he was a child.
Yeah. Well, even the adult characters have this, even when they're doing nasty or mean things, have this sense of purity and innocence about them. Where
Fermin, her ex-boyfriend, was one of them.
And the mum as well. There's a scene where she tells off her son, and then immediately afterwards, because he starts to cry, she hugs him and tells him, and then she has a go at Cleo instead, because that's what happens. There's natural fights in this family in this movie, which normally in a film would be massive, horrible things. Where in this movie, it's just like, oh, that's a fight. It just happens.
Yeah.
It's just
I've had family fights before. It's exactly how it appears in this film. It's just, it's life. It
doesn't affect how close the characters are to each other.
No, exactly.
And that's what it is all about. It's about the family and the characters. Really realizing.
And us coming to realize
them. And that's all they need.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about does our
We could talk
YouTube
forever
review.
about this, and we did.
We did, yes.
Go watch that,
if
you feel like it.
So again, if you want to, go through a slog and listen to our full-length podcast, it is in the description below.
Yeah, join the discussion.
Please do. If you hated this movie, if you loathed it, please leave a comment. If you loved it, please leave a comment. We want to hear as many different opinions as possible.
Absolutely. So, how many accounts should I create?
I'd say 15. I'm creating 20, so I think another 15 will do.
I'll post them.
So
more effort than I'm going to.
All right. Thank you so much to our 3 viewers. I'm Caleb.
Love you.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Scotty, and we are WeMovies.
We are WeMovies. Catch you guys later. Bye.